Something curious happened in the countryside of Kentucky in the spring of 2023. What started as an everyday chapel service on the campus of Asbury University, a few familiar songs, an ordinary sermon, and the typical crowd of sincere but drowsy college students, became something very different when the gospel choir, tasked to end the service, decided not to close but to continue in worship. Before long, reports started to circulate on campus about something happening in Hughes Auditorium, and students began to return in droves to worship, pray, and pour out their hearts in confession. Momentum continued to build through the evening as hundreds of students filled the chapel, lingering together in the presence of God. That same day, a campus minister at the University of Kentucky had his phone turned off for a retreat day. When he flipped it back on that night, he was taken aback as hundreds of text messages about something happening at Asbury arrived simultaneously. When he drove to campus that night, he found the chapel packed with students and the altar at the front of the auditorium wet with tears of repentance. What had begun as a 1-hour chapel service for a couple dozen Asbury students quickly became something of a spiritual phenomenon. Word began to spread about an outpouring on campus. Tens of thousands of students and adults from hundreds of campuses and dozens of countries, all of them pilgrims of one sort or another, began to descend on Wilmore, Kentucky, to experience for themselves what God was doing. Worship and prayer continued around the clock for more than 2 weeks, culminating on the 200th anniversary of the Collegiate Day of Prayer, CDOP. In what became a remarkable demonstration of divine symmetry, more than a year beforehand, CDOP had arranged to stream its annual simulcast of prayer for the campuses of America on the last Thursday of February from none other than Hughes Auditorium at Asbury University.